I don't know what's the state of the Sony Spider-Man universe films, but I mourn for its loss, especially for the memes. Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Are you single? Do you have difficulties dating? Are you ready for me to make you feel even more lonely? Well, feast your eyes on the following Venom marketing materials from China. In these pictures, we see Venom being the ideal boyfriend in these really cute scenarios. There's him carrying shopping bags for his girl during a shopping trip. Him accompanying a girl in the public transport. Honestly felt like public transport is just stressful. Like you have to pay attention to the stops and then you have to look at your phone at the same time to make sure you don't miss your stop and stuff like that. Yeah, and then you have him helping girls take selfies. You know, the TikTok and Instagram girlies will love that. And there's him shielding a girl from the rain too. Aww. Anyhow, in this video, I want to delve into this marketing campaign to talk about why I think it's such an incredibly creative way to market the film and how I think it could find an audience, especially in China. And since I have a master's in marketing communications, everything I say in here is gospel and no one can dispute me. I'm kidding, I'm just a person on the internet. First of all, I want to take some time to remind people how popular the Venom films are in China. It's really popular. According to the website Fox, this boyfriend Venom marketing campaign and a viral meme that went around in China where it depicts Venom as a socialist, those two reasons contribute to the reason why Venom is so popular in China. In China, the first Venom film grossed $262 million, and because of this growth, the film reached a total global box office of $822 million. That's a lot of money. This makes the first Venom film the most successful out of the Sony Spider-Man villain without Spider-Man villain film universe series thing. Yeah, it's the most successful out of the series of films, essentially. And the popularity doesn't just stop for the first film, it even extends to Venom The Last Dance, which is the third and the last installment of this Venom trilogy. Sony Pictures reported that Venom The Last Dance enjoyed the biggest opening by a Hollywood superhero film in China since 2019's Spider-Man Far From Home. And Venom The Last Dance doesn't just have financial success, but it also has critical success as well, with Chinese media praising the film for its greater emphasis on emotions compared to the previous two installments of the franchise. And in social media, people are praising the film for the depiction of Venom as an anti-hero as well. To be honest, I can't really tell how much the Venom boyfriend marketing campaign actually has an impact on the ticket sales, but you can't deny that it's still an incredibly unique and interesting way to market the film. But I think specifically the genius of this marketing campaign is how it taps into the female demographic, especially for the female audience in China. Here are a couple of reasons why I think it's a very effective marketing campaign. On the surface level, it's such a cute and earnest campaign, I would say. Like, the art style for these pictures are incredibly adorable, but let's take a look at the actions that Venom is doing in these pictures. Like, these things, they're very K-drama coded, isn't it? Like, if you take out Venom and then imagine like a K-drama lead, like maybe like Gong Yu, like girls will fawn over this, right? But it's not so much of a stretch either, because there's a lot of like K-dramas or C-dramas where the main romantic lead are also of supernatural identities. They just, look human. It's just in this one, it is explicitly a monster, but doesn't mean there are not people who enjoy the monster romance genre. I feel like there's this misconception where if you say like, oh, monster romance, you immediately think about the novels in the bargain bin in like Kmart or Target. But I have to tell you that there are a lot of highly critically acclaimed films and projects that feature monster romance. So some of these examples are Beauty and the Beast, The Shape of Water. And I would argue the most recent Nosferatu also falls into that. To be honest, I haven't watched it, so I can't really judge, but based on the TikTok, I would say maybe it falls into it. Oh my god, I just want to watch it, please. Please! Anyway, there are obviously people who are physically attracted to these monsters, but I would like to focus more on the emotional aspect of this attraction. In an article by Vice, they quoted a Tumblr post written by the user Cobwebbing, who is a fan of Venom. In the post, the user mentioned that the character has been occasionally portrayed as an endearing, empathetic sweetheart in the comics. Specifically, Venom is trying to subvert the expectation that they're a horrible monster by helping people and being a hero but kind of bungling it. There's a quote in the narration that sums it up that goes something like, "But even when Venom tries to do the right thing, people die." So what I'm getting from this user is that they like Venom because at his core, Venom has a good heart. It's just the destruction that can be misconstrued as villainous acts. Those are just like byproducts of his good intention of wanting to actually help people. It's just a little whoopsie. What this tells us is just like women seeks good men. But at the end of the day, destruction is something that you can't divorce from the monster romance genre because a big part of the monster romance genre is its horror element. Meg Downey from The Hollywood Reporter wrote an article about monster romance, and Downey used Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water specifically as a case study. In the article, she wrote that horror is a genre built on the destruction of normalcy. Horror represents the strange liminal space where the literal outsider sitting in the audience, someone who isn't typically the target demographic for the typical Hollywood film, can see themselves in the figurative outsiders, the monsters, who hold all the power on screen. It's an opportunity and an invitation that is almost entirely unique to the genre. The chance to see one's own experience projected out in a multifaceted way that takes center stage in the story rather than something stripped down and made to service a narrative that is otherwise completely focused on the typical male-oriented Hollywood gaze. Spoiler alert for The Shape of Water if you don't want to get spoiled. But in the article, Downey specifically mentioned a scene where the protagonist, Eliza, who is mute, signs to her friend and essentially begs this friend to help save Mr. Shape of Water. And Eliza signs to this person, the reason that she loves Mr. Shape of Water is because when he looks at me, he doesn't see how I am incomplete. Oh. Jessica Yang, in an article for Book Riot, aptly titled Hot Monsters in Fiction, referred to thesis written by Jeffrey Cohen, who often writes about monsters. And she specifically hones in on Cohen's discussion about how monsters are strange and different, but not so different that we can't recognize ourselves in them. Monsters represent the fears and desires of society, and most tellingly, that fear is really just desire in disguise. She goes on to add that monsters embody the allure of danger, transgression, power, and much more. They can also shine a stark, unyielding light on injustice. Based on all these quotes, on all these discussion, I just want to point out the fact monster romance doesn't only relies on people like being physically attracted to these monsters. There's an element of people being attracted to these monsters as ideas, specifically ideas that are ripe for commentary, story, and emotional stakes. And if there's anything I know about the girlies is that they love drama, they love angst. This great emphasis on emotional stakes is one of the reasons why the monster romance genre is so big. It's not just about being physically attracted to these monsters, but it's also being emotionally attached to these creatures too. And because these monsters represent the other, sometimes women find themselves identifying with these monsters even more than with their fellow men, I would say. Is that a stretch to say? But I will also add, and this is just me kind of like rationalizing things, feel free to push back on it. I don't have like any academic sightings or articles to back up this idea, but I think there's also an appeal in these otherworldly or supernatural creatures specifically choosing you. It doesn't even have to be, like choosing you in the romantic sense. Like it can also be a platonic or familial sense. But out of all the humans this creature could choose, like is choosing you, like I feel like us as human beings, there's just something nice about being chosen. Like in The Bachelor, they're always talking about being chosen and stuff. So I would say like there is an appeal in, alien creatures choosing you. I don't know, what do you guys think? But ultimately, I think it's not just about people who enjoy the monster genre. I think this speaks more to a bigger issue at hand, and that is that we all feel a little bit lonely. In China, there's this really big pressure to get married. Marriage is basically considered a mandatory part of adulthood, the same way like getting your first job is part of being an adult. For women, it is expected for them to get married by the time they're 23, and for men, it is when they're 25. But there's an even bigger pressure for women to get married because by the time you reach your late 20s, they start calling you a leftover woman. And that is not a nice thing to call people. Over the last 40 years, we're starting to see more economic and social transformations in China. And those transformations have significantly changed the way that younger generations interact with those kinds of values. In terms of marriage, young Chinese people believe that they should be allowed to get married for love. Because for older generation, marriage is more of a proposition where you don't need to be in love with that person you're marrying. You're marrying more for the companionship and like the financial or the household stability that this person can bring. And for younger generations now, they find that idea to be quite archaic. Due to these advances, these people are able to get more education and they are able to get more career opportunities, and that made them even more independent. So at the end of the day, if they're going to get married, to them, they're going to get married for love. This sentiment is especially true for women, I would say, because now they have a taste of freedom and they want to, have the freedom to choose when and who they marry. Editing Teresa here, I want to add that Chinese women now have that freedom also because they no longer have to rely on the men to provide the financial stability because they can do it themselves. And in terms of companionship, they can rely on their friends for that, in theory. This whole situation is incredibly complex, and I highly recommend the article that I read for this. It is an article written by Ma Chunhua, and it's available on Sixth Stone, and the link should be in the description. I recommend you read it to understand the complexity of this issue and the tension between the older and younger generation in China, especially regarding marriage. Because this issue is something that is so huge that we could talk about it in a whole nother video essay. And I want to get back to talking about boyfriend venom. But the biggest takeaway from this point is for a lot of young people, the older generation often nags them to get married to the point that marriage just feels more like a chore. This idea of marrying just for the sake of stability takes the romanticism out of having a relationship or getting married. So the visual of venom taking care of people, even with the more mundane actions like accompanying you to shopping trips and carrying your bags, taking selfies, it's tapping into the desire and the fantasy of you just want people to take care of you. You just want people to do like small acts of service for you. Isn't it almost the same as people, fawning over K-drama moments? Yeah, it's just now it's with venom. But even though we talk so much about how the younger Chinese generations have gotten more independent, they still feel a sense of loneliness. This Straits Time article is written in 2024, 6 years after the release of the first Venom film and the release of this marketing campaign. But I think it is incredibly relevant to this discussion today. Loneliness is such a problem in China to the point that there is a rise in companionship economy. So basically, companionship economy is like you go out and hire people to be your companions for the day so they can accompany you to like parties or shopping trips or medical checkups because those get really stressful. I get it. This industry is experiencing such growth that the state-owned investment firm Sinolink Securities estimated that it will be worth 50 billion yuan by 2025. That's this year. So with the boyfriend venom marketing campaign, like even if you remove the romantic undertones of it all, you can still interpret venom's presence as just nice companionship. Because at the end of the day, it's nice to have friends, it's nice to have companions, and I think loneliness is such an issue these days that it's not just something that's exclusively a problem in China. Like everyone all over the world is struggling to make friends and they're feeling even more lonely than ever. Specifically for this boyfriend venom campaign, I think it taps so much into the younger generation's desire for companionship. Anyway, does this video make sense? Are you enjoying this video? I'm so sorry. To conclude, whether the boyfriend venom marketing campaign has a direct impact in the ticket sales for the first film, it can't be denied that this is a very creative way to market the film. It not only appeals to those who enjoy the monster romance genre, but it also appeals to, something that at the end of the day we all crave, and that is companionship. But this marketing campaign is especially effective in China because there's such a big pressure and emphasis on marriage, and there's such a big issue in loneliness as well. I just want to give my praise to whoever came up with this campaign because it taps so much into the younger generation's problems that I'm pretty sure it resonates a lot with the younger audience, and that might have impacted, the love that a lot of these people have for Venom in China. They love Venom so much. Oh my god. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video and coming on this journey with me. Have you seen this Boyfriend Venom promotional campaign? Alternatively, what do you think about it? And while we're at it, why don't you tell me what's your favorite Sony Spider-Man villain without Spider-Man villain film series? Which one is your favorite from the whole bunch? Comment down below. If you like this video, please consider leaving a like and also subscribing if you want to. Yeah, have a good day.